Tyler from the Aspire Sports Show. I'm going to be giving you my Week 10 buy and sell players. So we've got to make a decision. Are you in a good spot or should you make some moves? I think regardless, you should make some moves. And I also think there's going to be a guy here that's going to surprise you in the sell section that you're going to totally disagree with, but the return is going to be massive. So I'm going to give you my reasons why. But if you have any questions as to should you make this trade, should you send this offer, ask in the comments below and we'll answer any questions you have. We're here for you. We want to help you win. So with that being said, we're going to go into my buy section here, and the first player is going to be Lamar Jackson. What a better candidate than Lamar Jackson, right? It's pretty obvious. But I've seen some questions on Twitter, like from Lamar Jackson fantasy managers that are saying, should I start Lamar Jackson or Justin Herbert? So I would go out and look at who the Lamar Jackson fantasy owner has as their quarterback, because chances are they probably didn't start him this week. Maybe they had to. But if they didn't, who's their other option here? Maybe it's Justin Herbert, and I think that you could probably get him right now, and you didn't invest in a second round. And if you did invest a second round draft pick, don't do that. It's terrible. Look at the value. It did not return value on this, so don't do that. But I think he's a good candidate. Look at these matchups coming up for the second half of the season here. Really good matchups. Yes, he has New England, but we just saw Joe Flacco destroy New England. I'm not too worried about that. The one I'm worried about is Pittsburgh, but the rest of them are good. So go out, see what you can get for him, make an offer. Next one would be Austin Ekeler. Now, this one is a little tricky because honestly, I don't know if he comes back this year. I would not be surprised if he misses the rest of the season. They came out, said it wasn't too serious, but then like the following week, they came out and said it's much more serious than anticipated. So that doesn't give me, a lot of confidence in a return anytime soon. It could possibly be like week 13 that we don't see him. I have no idea, but if he does practice, the window to buy has officially closed. So if you're in a good spot right now where you think that you're definitely going to make the playoffs, it's looking pretty good. I would go out to the fantasy manager. Maybe they're in a bad spot. Try to make him a good offer and try to get him, because he could be a lottery ticket here in these upcoming games. So let's go into the next one, and that's going to be David Montgomery. I've talked about him quite a bit here. Yes, it has been pretty. Right now, you probably have a fantasy manager out there who's probably fed up with it, especially after this last performance. He's now hurt, could possibly miss this game, then has a bye week. But after the bye week, it gets pretty easy. I mean, look at these games. These are not good run defenses at all. So, yes, they're also not a really good run team and really not that good of an offense, but he's right now sixth amongst running backs and targets on the year, so he's definitely getting targeted. I would go out, see what they want for him. I think that you have David Montgomery managers out there that are getting a little fed up, like I said, so I don't think the price tag's that high. So go out, try to make an offer. Let's go into the next one, and that's going to be J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins, they said he's going to have a larger role in this offense going forward, and actually outsnapped Gus Edwards this week, 36 to 24. Now, yes, Mark Ingram's coming back, but me personally, if you have two eyes and you watch these games, you can see who the better running back is, and that's definitely J.K. Dobbins. Yes, it wasn't that pretty, but also the Colts are the best run defense in the league. And I think going down the stretch, there's some pretty good games here, especially the playoffs. Like basically it's Pittsburgh and then the rest of them are really easy, like Lamar Jackson. So I just think this is a great time to go out and try to buy low, because he's coming off a pretty disappointing game. And you have managers out there that have rode the wave as long as they could. And I think they might be at the end. So go out and try to buy him. Next person is going to be Devonta Parker. Now, Preston Williams kind of looked like Tua's favorite target, and then Preston Williams got hurt. So I think this bodes well for Devonta Parker. I'm not sure how serious Preston Williams' injury is. He did get carted off the field. But Devonta Parker, we have some games coming up that are pretty easy, pretty definitely like beatable matchups. Yes, we have Denver, which isn't the best, but honestly, that's Kansas City, which also will be hard. Maybe New England at this time gets Stephon Gilmore back, but still, like these are some beatable games in this area, and somebody who I think is playing really well in Tua and is only going to get better. And I believe in Parker's talent, so I think it's a good combo. So I would go out, see what. Let's go and talk about Darius Slayton. This is going to be Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard combined here. I think that the price tag is pretty low for what their potential is. And especially Darius Slayton, like we've seen before, he's a big play waiting to happen. The matchups have been pretty tough this season. Honestly, they've played some pretty tough games. And they have Philadelphia this week, which isn't that bad, but this offensive line is terrible. We've talked about it. It's just they don't get any help up front. But after this week, it does get pretty easy. Yes, week 16 Baltimore is tough, but the rest of these games are beatable secondaries with teams that don't really get that much pressure on the quarterback. So I think right now you could get them for pennies right now, especially Slayton. So I would go out, see what they want. They're honestly probably considering dropping Slayton if he hasn't already been dropped. So I would go out, see what they want for him, and try to make an offer. And let's talk about the only tight end that I'm going to be talking about is Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper right now I think is in a really good spot. Yes, you probably have some managers who are probably hoarding him on their IR spot or something. But if they weren't, and right now you could probably pick him up in some leagues, only rostered in 41% of leagues. But I think he's in a good spot, and this is why. If you look at the gains, this was pre Odell being hurt as well. He was averaging 7 targets, 5 receptions, 47 yards. So that was pre Odell. Now we have a good stretch of games here, a really good stretch of games where I think he's going to be heavily involved. So I honestly think he's like a top 6 tight end for the rest of the way. So I would go and get him right now if you have the opportunity. Try your best, make your best offer, and try to get him, especially if you're kind of desperate at the tight end position. So let's go into the sells. This first one is going to be Josh Allen. Yes, I know. Dude, he just put up nearly 40 points and had 400 yards passing. This is also against Seattle, who probably might be the worst secondary in the league. Right next, I know they're the second worst, right there with Atlanta. Terrible, terrible. Also, you have to consider this. I also think that this really factored into this game. You have Seattle from the West Coast traveling across coast to the East Coast playing at 1 o'clock. They have historically, teams doing that have historically fared poorly in these games. It's like they only win 30% of the time, and it really, when those games that they've lost haven't been close. So if you go look at statistics, it's definitely in their favor. So yes, he went out and had a great game, but look at all these games prior, and one of them was against the Jets. He hasn't been doing that well this season. Well, I shouldn't say this season, but the past 4 games have been terrible. Maybe this is a get right game. I don't think so. I don't think he's going to be as good as this going forward. He has some tougher games coming up, especially in the playoffs here, and a bye week. So 100% I would try to go and sell Josh Allen. Next would be Antonio Gibson. A lot of people are on the Antonio Love train, right? I mean, I love Antonio myself. Really, I love the player in Antonio Gibson. I just don't believe that this team sees him as a workhorse back right now. And I think it's smart because I think going forward, like in the next season, 2 seasons, he'll probably be the guy. But right now, no. J.D. McKissic outsnapped him by 20 snaps last week. 20 snaps. Yes, he also scored, and that's the only thing keeping him relevant. Right now, he's 21st in red zone rushes. So the fact that he has 5 touchdowns is pretty. It's not going to keep up. It's just not going to continue. And then also, you look at some of these games. Yes, the couple of games coming up here are pretty easy, but then he gets into some tough games here for the stretch. I think a lot of people love Antonio Gibson, like I said, so I think that you could get pretty good value on him alone because the name is sexy. So I would go out and try to sell. I would also try to buy J.D. McKissic or pick him up because check down Alex is going to get him the ball a lot. Let's go into the person. Honestly, I think these past couple of people are going to be like, "What are you talking about? Like you're crazy, you're stupid." I think Dalvin Cook is 100% like a sell high candidate, and I'm not going to say for just anybody. Some of these offers that I've been seeing on Twitter, where should I trade Dalvin Cook for Scary Terry McLaurin, and Derrick Henry? Yes, you should do that. That's a really good trade for you. Get rid of Dalvin, who has an injury history, coming off 2 incredible games, right, where he's going over 200 plus yards, scrimmage yards. So yes, it's not going to continue. It's really not going to continue. Has a tough matchup this week. Yes, it gets a little bit easier. It gets pretty easy here for a little bit of a stretch. But then for the playoffs, it's honestly, these are really tough defenses, especially run defenses that I don't think you want for the run. So go out, try to get some really good players because I honestly think that you're going to get really solid return right now and try to sell high. Next, I would go into and talk about all the receivers. All the receivers from Tampa Bay. I don't want any of them. And hopefully you listened to the segment earlier in the season when I told you to sell Antonio Brown when he was signed. Yes, this was only one game, but I think it's going to be a trend going forward. The games really aren't that great going forward. They only get Atlanta once. They have a bye week still, have Kansas City, the Rams, who are actually really good pass defenses, and Carolina's not that bad as well. So, no, I don't want any part. The only one that I'd really consider keeping and holding on to is Godwin. The other ones I would go out and try to sell this week because I don't think it gets that much better. Brady is 43 years old. You got to remember that. 43. Yes, father time catches up to people soon enough. So, me personally, I'd try to sell. And let's get into the last one here, and that's going to be DJ Chark. I love DJ Chark as a player, but I think right now would be the perfect time to sell high. With Lutton at quarterback, yes, he didn't look that bad, but it's also Houston, right? The next week he gets Alexander in shadow coverage, then plays Pittsburgh, and then for the playoffs has Baltimore, Chicago. Those aren't good games. He has a little bit of stretch there with some good matchups, but I personally would try to sell high on him right now. I don't know how much you really get for him. If you got to hold on to him, that's fine, but I would try to go out, see if you can get some good deals for possibly like a RB2 or something like that. So with that being said, thank you for watching. If you haven't, please hit the subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. We'll answer any questions you have. Follow us on Twitter, TikTok. All of that stuff is in the description down below. We're all over social media, and we're here to help you win your leagues. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.